Welcome to another episode of Two Bros, One Beard. I'm the bearded brother, Michael.
What's up, everyone? And I'm John. Hey, so today we're going to be reviewing the new Riverside album. Just came out last week, and it's called ID Entity. Or it might be called Identity. Pretty sure it's ID Entity.
We don't know. We're guessing there's like a double meaning there.
It works.
It works. It's clever. It's cool.
So Riverside is the kind of well-established Polish progressive rock band, progressive metal band. And this is their first release in 5 years, their first studio album in 5 years, following Wasteland in 2018. Wasteland was done as mostly as a three-piece. And after the unfortunate death of original guitarist Piotr. And now they're officially a four-piece. So in this time period, they have officially announced that I'm going to do my best with this one, but Marciej is their current electric guitar player, and it's really awesome to hear him on this new record. First, it's kind of the first thing I wanted to bring up on this, and he does have credits on Wasteland, like he's on there somewhere, but you can tell that record was really written and composed around band leader Marius and the bass and some of his rhythm guitar playing. And it's awesome to finally hear guitars a little more in the forefront and to be able to hear this new addition to the band. So that was the first thing that stuck out with me that I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But before we kind of dive in any further, just kind of overall impression. Bro, what'd you think just overall? I know you haven't been a follower of this band for a very long time.
Yep.
But what was the overall impression?
I mean, I'm basically new to this band. I listened to Wasteland when it came out. I didn't know it's been 5 years. I think you told me to check it out, and I gave it one listen, and I liked it, but I just never kind of went back to it. And then, I'm always open to hearing something new. So when the new album came out, I was like, I'll give it a try. And got to say, so far, it's my favorite of 2023 anyway, even though it's very early on. I can't stop listening to it. I've kind of listened to it this whole week. And yeah, cool. I love it. I have a lot to say. I don't know if you want to start, but.
Sure. Yeah. I've been following this band since, I guess, the fifth album.
Okay. How many studio records do they have? I don't know if you mentioned it already. But...
Oh, no, I haven't. Let's see. This should be number 8, I think, by my count. Let's see.
Count them up. And what is their what's their start date? When were they founded?
Yeah, this should be album 9, actually.
Okay.
Full studio album number 9. They formed. I don't have that right in front of me, but the debut record came out in 2003. Right. So we're talking 20 years plus with this band.
Okay.
Already, which is pretty awesome, and especially for us as fans who are following this band at this time. We were kind of talking about just the passing of time and some of the bands that we're really into.
Mm-hmm.
That sadly they're just getting older, and eventually we won't be talking about New Dream Theater or New Fates Warning or something like that. So now, even though these guys are over, we got 20 years plus already, this is kind of maybe the next sort of generation, so to speak. About 10 years ish or so after the first Dream Theater record. So so like I said, I think by my count, this is album number 9. And this band has really done a great job over each subsequent record of, I wouldn't say completely reinventing themselves. They certainly have a core sound, but there's slight changes, I think, as we progress, which is really, really cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, if this album sounds a lot like, what they've always sounded like, or was this a big kind of change?
Changes in some ways, like I guess as we dive right into the actual song list here. I mean, the way the opening track, Friend or Foe, they haven't really used keyboards in the same way before, at least those same sounds. This is, very, very much like a throwback to kind of some 80s tones and stuff like that. And they haven't really done that. Of course, they've always had a keyboardist, but that's kind of a new thing. But like I said, they've preserved their sound. And I think what's really great about this that stands out from Wasteland is that they've been able to bring back some of the older aspects of their sounds that they lost with their original guitarist. And he was such a integral part of that sound. His guitar playing, his soloing, all of those things were so essential to the Riverside sound. So this their new guitarist, while he has he's showcasing his own identity and his own way of doing things, but still, I think having played a lot of the old material live and stuff like that, it sounds to me like inevitably some of that style is going to influence his playing going forward a little bit, perhaps. So it's cool for the longtime fans to be able to hear that sort of thing. So
well, I just wanted to give kind of my impressions because I'm kind of a new fan. I don't know what their early stuff sounds like. I'm definitely going to check a lot of it out. But I immediately thought when I'm listening to these songs that I'm guessing that the singer is the main songwriter.
That's correct.
I feel like the songs are really structured around his vocal lines. He gives his voice, a lot of space, similar to what Tom England would do.
Right.
Just reminds me of that. And there's such a bass presence. I thought there was, clearly, or it seems like maybe he structures the songs around the bass, which is really unique. But the closest I've ever heard of, a band doing that is Rush, to where it feels like the song actually started with a bass riff. And I think that's pretty rare in, progressive metal. It's usually centered around the guitars or keyboards. And then,
definitely.
So those are my impressions. And then, I mean, the clarity in the mix is super unique in that you could really hear the bass throughout the entire song. You could hear the chord progression of the bass, and I don't think I've ever heard that before. The closest, like I said, is Rush, where Getty you could really hear the bass throughout. And then the guitars they kind of complement the bass as opposed to kind of overpower things, which tends to be the case. So you could get a long prolonged section of just like a bass riff, and then the guitars come in periodically, which I think is cool. It's kind of an Alex Lifeson style. So I would assume Rush is a big influence on them. I didn't see all their influences, but that's what reminded me the most. But
yeah, for sure. Well, so that's a bit about the music, I think, from both of our perspectives. We got to dive into these lyrics here. So this is first record post-pandemic, post-lockdowns. We know without getting into too much of a social political commentary that Poland was locked down pretty hard. Might still be in some ways. I don't know, but I think between what they went through over that couple-year period, still mourning the loss of their friend and former guitarist, and I think just with a real keen awareness of everything that's been going on with media influence and advancements in technology and things like this. I think it's all over the lyrics. It's and there was a couple things I wanted to kind of point out. So Friend or Foe was the single they put out at first.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
I mean, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, because there's definitely been the man versus machines kind of story arc that's, I think, a little bit overdone.
Yeah.
We had that with Iconoclast from Symphony X, for instance. But this is really neat because even within the context of clearly talking about the damages and social consequences of technology, it keeps every single song really keeps it on a very personal level, or interpersonal level, where it's really about how it's affecting our relation to one another.
Yeah.
And our relation to ourselves and the society. And but I think a bigger piece is just that one-on-one thing that's been really damaged. And you get that in Friend or Foe, you get that on I'm Done With You, you get that on Self-Aware. But go ahead, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar reaction to the first song. I feel like they do it in a way with that very 80s kind of there's almost like a little bit of a silliness to the sound, or a little bit whimsical, like you get from certain 80s, where they're not taking it too seriously, almost kind of mocking, kind of what was done in a sense. It reminded me, I when I heard the song, it took me back to like that Aha song, Take On Me. That's what I like pictured, where like they should have made a video where like a hand like brings them into like a cartoon world, and it's just like one guy without a mask, and he's looking at all these faceless people, and that's kind of what I thought, and I think that's kind of what the title is about, is losing our identity, what makes us individuals. We're kind of like, it's like everyone's a robot or something.
Right. Well, he says, I'm sick and tired of our fighting on the minefield of the social distance warnings. The future is in our hands. But the key is, but first, let's unsubscribe the ones who make us hostile. Unsubscribe the ones who make us hostile. So it's pointing the finger back at, see, the reason there's this division is because we need to unsubscribe the ones who make us hostile. That's the solution. So that's really cool.
It's a little bit of like shaking your fist at the powers that be.
Right.
And and not trying not to, not wanting people to, fight amongst themselves, but find who's responsible for all this.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I realized I was reading lyrics off of the last song.
Oh,
my bad. On
right,
Friend or Foe. Yeah, anyways, go on, bro. Sorry.
What was that line that I was reading off their website, which kind of had the lyrics from the first song? Let's see if I can find it.
Find that, but okay, so with that, sorry, that little blunder on my end. We covered Self-Aware. That was the closing track. And I think perhaps maybe encompasses the overall theme of the record, which is that we need to unsubscribe to the ones that are making us hostile.
Yeah. I got the lyrics. Who's behind the filter? Who's behind the mask?
Okay, same song.
How much of yourself is left in you?
Yep.
So that just that idea of that you're just losing, who you are, not knowing what your identity is,
Definitely.
And it says, and you've been customized for my desires, like your will is not your own, kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah, I wanted to highlight the second track too, Landmine Blast.
Yep. That definitely has that intro for sure. I mean, if I may.
Yeah.
Reminds me of early 2000s Rush.
Okay.
It's one of the heavier songs on the album, and then vocally, correct me if I'm wrong here, but he reminds me a lot of Hansi from Blind Guardian. They just seem to have a very similar accent when they sing, and I don't know. It reminded me of something off like Twist and the Myth, to be honest with you.
Huh.
And it's one of the more progressive songs on there. Yeah, I mean, like I said with the guitars, I like how he incorporates like a lot of different guitar styles. It's not just one continuous, riff. He does like some interesting picking, and then it'll go into like it's riffy at times, but or he'll play just a melody line, and yeah, I just like the how diverse this album is.
For sure. And I was going to say that the opening of this one, I think, is the first time we really get that glimpse into their past.
Okay.
Those first really reminds me a lot of like the first 3 or 4 records, with kind of the noodly guitar thing, the melodic line that's being played. That's really, really cool. But I think the song really just touches on, a lot's happened in the last 5 years. And one of those things is just that sensitivity around cancel culture, things where, well, it's like people just find themselves saying the wrong thing and literally stepping on a landmine.
Yeah.
And just having everything, everyone coming out and just pouncing on you, and but still kind of pointing the finger at just like the overall issue, which is we are polarized, we are atomized, and maybe you should know someone wanted to make us fight one another. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's still kind of pointing it at the general issue, I think, in the culture, or those that are directing the culture. That is a big part of the issue.
Yeah, I saw there's a similar message on Big Tech Brother.
It opens with a disclaimer.
Yeah,
which is actually really clever.
That was clever. I was like,
yeah,
wait, what's happening?
Yeah, what's really cool about this one is they've done this before, where there's kind of this dialogue that's happening, and you get a sense of both sides, and obviously Marius is bringing like his thoughts on the issue, but you kind of have the side saying, well, I've got nothing to hide. It's okay and fine. I'm okay with the following is saying being tracked, being parsed, being mined, modified, being used, being searched, being lied to, monetized, and it's like you realize that if you say that, you realize what those consequences are. You have to be aware of that as well, and then we're seeing this allusion to, well, I think clearly Orwell's writings. When he said 1984 specifically, Mass Control 84, Brave New World, just Aldous Huxley, just like these dystopian novels that are kind of I don't know, in some ways seem to be the reality.
Yeah.
So, but really cool lyrics on this one.
I was going to say my interpretation was that this was like from the perspective of those who are maybe not, or the side that's not being targeted, the ones that are able to speak freely because they're on a certain side, and that if the other side's being attacked, as long as it doesn't concern me, I'm fine. But he's kind of saying like eventually, it'll come for you too. It's not just because it doesn't concern you in the immediate. It may one day. So don't just dismiss kind of what you're seeing.
Yeah, he's probably alluding to a lot of different things, and that's what's so cool. I mean, it's so fitting for the times.
Yeah.
The only other song I wanted to highlight before we wrap up was "The Place Where I Belong." That's kind of
it's my favorite on the record.
It's not like an epic, like 20 minutes, but it's a longer song. And what I really loved about this was just how I think I always have trouble with that word.
Vulnerability
of what he's trying to communicate, and it's the way he delivers the lyrics, and just the way the song is sort of structured. It's very personal, and he's just being very open.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I really loved the most was, I'm going to get to that line here real quick, was there's like the subtle change towards the end. And it's cool. It's so relatable, because I think I feel this way sometimes, where he's saying, "I'm sorry, I'm checking out of this race. Don't want to share my part, for your bar is set too high." But he does something. What's really cool is the way the song is structured. He says those lines, and then the chords change, or there's a different way it's executed, and it just gets a little more emotive in how they start bringing in other harmonies and other melodies to it.
Yeah.
And then he says the same line again, and it just seems to have a deeper and deeper meaning.
It seems to get a little more somber.
A little more somber. That's
musically, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Which I thought was so brilliant. And then it goes into kind of this extended instrumental section, but
yeah,
that was just so well done, because it's like you can say something over and over again, and it's almost like each time he says it, he's just more. It's more bittersweet. He's sadder about it.
Defeated, or
yeah, for sure. But that was probably the highlight for me overall in terms of the emotional aspect of the record. I thought they did that really, really well.
Yeah. Now, I want to say, like, musically, that song really reminds me of like a transatlantic song. His voice reminds me of Rowan Stolt from Flower Kings on this one. Maybe a little bit of Spock's beard sound to it. But yeah, there's so many elements to this song. There's a section where there's like a Deep Purple synthesizer sound, that organ sound, pretty deep purpley riff on there too. And then I felt like lyrically it was kind of, in parts it was from the perspective of someone kind of being in the middle and kind of looking at both sides fighting, like why can't they kind of why can't anyone give an inch? It's kind of like,
yeah,
obviously talking about how polarized we become, which is the common theme throughout. But that's kind of what I got from it.
Right on. So let me ask you this: is this a record that is giving you the desire to go back into the back catalog?
Definitely. Yep.
Right on.
I was kind of sure right away. I mean, I like Wasteland, or when I first heard it, but I was just like, maybe someday. And then, luckily this album came along and definitely made me want to dive into the earlier stuff for sure.
Awesome.
I mean, I really like his voice.
Yeah.
I mean, another band to kind of compare them to is Haken. They don't have, I mean, they're not as technical, but they just kind of remind me of them. I think he's a better singer than Ross, but yeah, I'm a big fan. I just love the way their records sound. It's such a clean, organic sound. I love that. Every instrument is really, really pronounced and prominent. So I mean, it makes sense that the singer plays so many of the instruments and the way he structures each song. But yeah, I really, really dig it for sure. It's my favorite so far of the year.
February 11th. All right.
Yeah.
Nothing will top it. No, we'll see.
I think it will be in my top 5 by the end of the year.
I think so too. I have a feeling.
I think it's that good, so I'm not just kind of, joking. But
yeah. No, same here, because I've been following them for a while, and they are one of my favorite bands, and I think they absolutely delivered on this new record, and seems to have made a fan out of you, which is great. So
definitely,
100%. So we hear from Two Bros One Beard, say buy this record. It's awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Great artwork too. Really interesting artwork. And then we didn't mention, I don't know if it's just part of the deluxe edition, but there's 2 like really lengthy instrumental songs too.
Oh, right.
A couple of radio edits. And I mean, every song's super strong. We really could have talked about every track. There wasn't
100%.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Cool. All right, bro. Why don't you wrap this one up?
All right. Well, thank you for checking out the latest new album review from Two Bros One Beard. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.